everybody knows, Alibaba to buy stuff that already exists. Where do I go to create new things? Well, that's why we created Gembah, to help people do that.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by J Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumitech, sponsored by Homeward Ventures, Hippo Insurance, Upwest Labs, Synergy Global, Hillel at Stanford, Leap, Birthright Excel, Serona Partners, and in media partnership with CTech. Hello and welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Today, I'm with Henrik Johansson, a serial entrepreneur who co-founded and built the product company Boundless into a $100 million company. Currently, he is the co-founder and CEO of Gembah, a product development platform and marketplace, and the executive producer of Final Product, a reality TV show incubated at Gembah. He was previously a co-founder and board member of OutboundEngine, and before that, he was the president of EverydayWealth and co-founder and president of Creditland. Johansson specializes in technology-enabled services, marketplaces, and software as a service. He is an expert on scaling startups, building world-class teams, culture, and scalable processes, and infrastructure, and has been featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, Austin Business Journal, and was named Counselor's 2017 Person of the Year. Henrik Johansson, welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
For having me. Pleasure's all mine.
Well, the pleasure really is mine. I'd say, you're talking about an amazing career in product development and quite a few companies under your belt. You're a serial entrepreneur. Today, the CEO of Gembah, previously the CEO and co-founder of Boundless Network, which sold which was acquired for its services and product development, and you're continuing along that same path. But you've been, co-founder and board member for companies for quite some time, and so I'm excited to sort of pick your brain about your personal journey with product development. It's something that we learn in school, we learn in accelerators and incubators, but it hasn't seemed like there were too many products out there that made it a better process for us tangibly. Yeah. And so, Henrik, thank you very much for coming here.
Yeah, thank you. Look forward to it.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, getting into product development. Where did that passion come from, tangibly?
Yeah, I grew up in Sweden, did not have entrepreneurial parents. They still don't understand what I'm doing today. And I was surprised and amazed by it. But came to the States, was a management consultant, and I lived in the Bay Area in San Francisco during the late 90s when the dot-com thing happened, and started a company with some friends. And early on, I was intrigued by marketplaces, how marketplaces can create markets and how software platforms can, revolutionize some old industry that hasn't been revolutionized. So the first company was Creditland. It was an online lending marketplace, bringing together, all different types of credit and lending to consumers. And, we were a little bit ahead of our time, and we got stuck in the dot-com crash. And unfortunately, the company did not survive. So early on, I learned a lot about, things don't always go the way where you want them to go, but it's not a failure until if you don't learn anything. So like you said, continue to do startups, venture funded startups ever since. And I think Gembah is my fifth that we're working on right now. And like you said, it's focused on helping other people develop new products.
So if we're looking at the world of product development today, and we're looking at specifically the way that people find resources to design, manufacture, think through, market their products. So what are some of the sort of, the bottlenecks in this process that you've identified?
Yeah. So the huge market that we've seen, right, is that big companies, they have internal product development teams. They have engineers and designers, and then they have supply chain experts, compliance experts. So they have the resources to do it. But the interesting thing that's happened over the last decade or so is that the barriers to entry to start an e-commerce company have been lowered, drastically lowered, right? Through Amazon and Shopify and others. You can literally start an e-commerce company in a day today. What nobody has done though is lower the barriers to entry to create new products, to go through the product development journey. Sure, you can go on Alibaba and buy something that already exists from a catalog, but since there are more and more sellers now, that's not a viable business model anymore. So what we're seeing is that all these millions of new sellers that are coming in and want to start an e-commerce business, they have to differentiate their products in order to be successful, just to survive and thrive. But there is nowhere to go. Everybody knows, Alibaba to buy stuff that already exists. Where do I go to create new things? Well, that's why we created Gembah, to help people do that, because it is a pretty complex process. If you think of going all the way from, sketch to the back of a napkin, you have an idea. Well, now you have to come up with a design, and then you have to, turn that into real spec with CAD drawings and things like that. And now you got to start talking to factories and figure out if you can actually make that product for an affordable amount. And then you have to go through the whole sampling and production process and the logistics and all that. So it's a long and arduous journey. And part of why we started the company is that we saw a lot of small businesses, mid-sized businesses. They fail in that journey. It's enough that one of the steps go wrong, right? And you end up with a container full of products that doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And that may be, that failure may be fatal for a small business. They can't afford to have a whole $100,000 production run go wrong, or have a product recalled, or, creating some product, investing in a product design that they can't make for the amount that's required. So we saw that there was this huge need for someone to help small, mid-sized businesses develop new products. And that's why we created Gembah. Yeah.
And so part of the idea here is to create this marketplace, right? Where you can bring in people from these different skill sets to support the product development process of these businesses. But it sounds like what you were describing here is that some of the pitfalls along the journey, trust is one of them. The ability to have a relationship with them is one of them. So how does that get compensated for in a more global economy type of marketplace where people are interacting mainly digitally, not necessarily from the same place or culture? How big of a factor is trust here in partnering with others in the product development lifecycle?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, the interesting part is there's this distrust on both sides. Often in the West, we distrust the factories in China or whatever it might be. But there's a lot of businesses overseas that have been screwed by Western companies too in this process. And many times it's not from ill intent. It's about lack of understanding and lack of alignment and cultural differences. So that's what Gembah creates, this trusted network. It's almost like its own nation, an ecosystem of trusted, vetted partners that have agreed that we're going to work under this specific protocol. They agree upfront on that. Here's how we're going to work together. Here's what we're committed to doing in a certain time frame. If you go on Alibaba, they have millions of listings. It's not hard to find a factory, but often you don't even know if who you're talking to is the factory, or is it some trading company or a sourcing agent, or just someone who put up, copied listing. In Gembah, we're completely transparent. We share the address and the information with the factory, with the customer. They can speak to each other through our platform. And we're 100% transparent about the purchase orders and, what the cost is. So our goal is not to be a sourcing agent. Our goal is to be the platform through which people conduct business and develop trusted relationship with the manufacturers and partners.
So walk me through the process that a business may go into the platform. They're starting to onboard, and what really is the relationship with the platform at this point with Gembah? So how do they go from having the problem to actually solving it with Gembah?
Yep. Yeah, let's use an example. For example, let's let somebody come to us and they have this idea. They want to create a set of headphones, but they want to have solar cells on top of them so that these headphones never run out of battery, right? Well, so we go in, when they come to us with that, we go in our database, and immediately based on the product they're trying to create, we know all the steps that you have to go through, from sketching to design, 2D rendering, 3D renderings, from component manufacturing, component sourcing, and then through the whole production process, what you need to do as far as QC, compliance, testing, certifications, all that. So our platform creates this project plan, basically. These are all the steps you have to go through. Then it goes into this talent network that we have, where we have thousands of engineers, designers, factories all over the world. And through our algorithm, identify the very best match. So if you're making these headphones, it'll find an industrial designer that works at Bose, maybe, or Skull Candy or something like that. And they'll find somebody who creates solar cells at, Samsung or Dyson or something. So you put together the very best team that you can find in the world to work with this project. And then, you take their billing rates and create a combined billing rate for the customer. So it becomes very affordable for them to go through the design phase. And then we do the same thing on the, once you get to the end of the design, you have this, what's called a DFM, the design for manufacturing phase, to make sure that what you're designing is actually can be manufactured in a reasonable time frame and for an affordable cost. And then we go through the same process basically with the factories. We get multiple factories, they get to bid for the project, help them negotiate the best deal with that factory, and then they can manage the whole production process through the platform. So when the product hit the production line, there are QC people showing up in the factory in whatever country it is, taking pictures, going through the test protocols, uploading pictures and videos of the tested product, so that the customer, wherever they are, can basically go into the Gembah platform to see, oh, here are all the tests that they went through, and the product's actually working the way it's supposed to be working, and check that box before it's loaded and shipped to the customer's destination.
So going back to the decision of full transparency, it seemed like that was a part of it that you were quite proud of, and I think it's amazing. I'm just wondering, how does that work in the business setting where a marketplace, one of the biggest assets of a marketplace is the fact that it has the information of the two sides, and it allows the two sides to engage on its platform. Because if they go to other platforms, then you're not really part of the process anymore. So how do you balance, or what are the trade-offs in this case between this transparency that you're talking about versus needing to be the platform where they actually engage on and where you can monetize on that?
Yeah. Like you point out, circumvention is always an issue with most marketplaces, particularly talent marketplaces, is people are worried that people get around it. What we found is that it's not that much of an issue in what we're doing. First, if you look at on the design side, part of the value here is that the platform identifies how to orchestrate the collaboration between these resources, right? The typical small business would not know how to direct the work of an electrical engineer and mechanical engineer and design, and for them to work together, what deliverables to create, what specs that they need to provide to the factory. So we haven't really seen any circumvention in that stage. And then with the factory, our fees, or at least the goal is our fees are so low that it doesn't make sense for the customer to circumvent us, right? If they don't speak Chinese or they speak Spanish for the Mexican factory, we can provide this safe, trusted way to do business, right? And also manage the payments. It's a scary thing to send $50,000 or $100,000 wire that to a factory somewhere else in the world without really knowing what's going to happen, right? So we want to be that trusted place where people feel comfortable and it's safe and it's there's very little risk in conducting business. And to date, that's been successful. We don't see a lot of attrition or circumvention at all.
So a lot of these players in the marketplace that you have are actually on, they're providing very high value orders, right? It's not just like freelancers. Hey, can you do this gig? And if it doesn't work out, and then in an hour, I'll stop the contract, right? Here, you're talking about orders that can get to pretty high. How do you vet? So how do you know that the people that you have are actually high quality? It sounds like this is a really challenging problem.
Yeah, we made that mistake, I think, in the beginning where sometimes our customer does not quite appreciate the time and the cost it takes to develop and create a brand new product, right? So we had some folks starting in the early years, starting the process. They paid $10,000, let's say, to create a design, only to find that they actually didn't have enough money for the tooling or, to place the purchase order. So right nowadays, we do a lot of education on the front end with our customers. In every proposal that we present, we show them, here's how long it's going to take you to do this. Here are all the fees that it's going to cost. And, this is probably about the time you're going to be able to get the product on the shelf, because we particularly some of the, inexperienced companies, they figured, oh, this is going to cost $5,000. I'm going to have product in 3 weeks. And that's just not the case. It just doesn't work that way in manufacturing. So today we take pride in educating people on the process. And we actually filter out, disqualify a lot of folks if they don't have the means to actually go through the entire process. And we take pride in that. One of our core values is always do the right thing. And I think that's the right thing to do, to build trust and transparency in what we're doing.
Awesome. So from your side of, product development life cycles, for young entrepreneurs that are creating products, whether they're software based or hardware based, and, I think our whole life is just one product development life cycle. But, what are some things that you've learned about yourself or about this world that would be relevant for us to keep in mind as we just go on our journeys, things that would be relevant for any, I guess, sort of situation for product development?
Yeah, I think, the world of software product development is pretty well understood. And, Silicon Valley and the rest of the world spend a lot of time developing tools and collaboration software and make that very accessible for folks. Nobody blinks an eye to, bring in a Java engineer from the Ukraine or wherever they might be. That's understood. Nobody's done that really for hardware product development, right? So that's what Gembah trying to create this platform for that. And I see that, similar to, I think, software development, if you're not very clear upfront on what you're trying to develop, odds are things are not going to go very well further down. So we spend a lot of time up front to really understand, what are you trying to do as a customer? What are your objectives? What do you want with this product? Is it like as a luxury product, really high end way, and you need it to be completely different than anything else on the market? Or are you more an e-commerce, Amazon seller? You're just trying to put a little twist on an existing product so you can add this to your current catalog, right? So having a clear understanding for that, because, if you're really trying to create a unique product, it can take a year to go through the whole journey, particularly if it has complexity, if it has moving parts, electronics. It's going to require prototyping, a lot of testing. But if all you need is like another insulated cup that you want to, sell on Amazon, well, we can make that happen in a couple of months. You just create some small change to design or packaging or branding or colors, and you can have that product on the shelf for much lower cost and much lower time frame. So I think that's key in software and hardware product development. Be very clear up front about what you're trying to achieve and what your budget is, and to really align on expectations. I think that's the key. And
so you've still chosen to be here for quite some time and to start another company in this space. Really, I asked you before, how did you get into product development, but why are you here now? So after so long, what makes you decide, yes, I'm going to also my new company, I'm going to be in the similar space? What led to that decision?
Yeah, I always had this, my mom was always fighting for the right thing to do. She fought the referendum in Sweden against nuclear power. She worked for Amnesty International. We were writing letters to, dictators around the world. So I always had this desire inside me that I should do something good with my life and have a positive impact. And while my prior companies, I think, were all good and created a great work environment, I never felt like they were changing the world, right, for the better. They created, good jobs and good career for people. So doing this one, which I think is my last one, probably, I wanted to be something that could have a huge impact on the world. And I really do believe that, our vision is to democratize product creation and unlock virtually unlimited entrepreneurial equity all over the world. I mean, I'm sure there are brilliant minds in Israel and, in Africa or in Sweden that have ideas, but they just don't know what to do with them. And these great ideas should be brought to the world, and it could help a lot of people and make the world a better place. And we're also, the big thing we're launching this year is new, sustainable, more eco-friendly ways to develop products. So we believe that as more and more product development moves to smaller companies, we really have an opportunity to not just help people make better products, but make products better in a way that's better for the planet and the environment. So that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what drives me. That's, yeah, sure, we want to build a successful, very large company, but I think we also have the chance to develop a category-defining company that's going to help a lot of people. And in today's world, more and more people, the Great Resignation, or Gen Zs, they don't want to work like their parents did. Everybody wants to be their own entrepreneur, and I think Gembah can be an important player in that ecosystem, in that new world.
Henrik, sounds really cool, and I love the vision. I love the motivation and the execution. Thank you very much for being here. This was very, very enjoyable. Best of luck with Gembah. Make a positive impact. I look forward to trying it out myself, and thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Fantastic.
Take care.